Looks like we are live on Twitter.
And we're live on Facebook as well. But you guys can't see us.
On Twitter they can.
Maybe on Twitter they can. But on Facebook, you can't see us. Trying something different for the intro to the show. Let you guys kind of collect yourselves and get into the room. And we're getting ready for episode 62, Scott. Not 63. We're not a week ahead of 62.
Yeah, sorry about that. If people are on Twitter, do me a favor and put it, because this is showing that we are not on Twitter. Or that it's not available in my location.
Yeah, for you guys on Facebook, we are trying something different with the live streams this week. Normally we live stream to, obviously, Facebook, and we live stream to YouTube normally. This week we are shifting from YouTube to Twitter/Periscope, all kind of combined into one. And Scott is kind of troubleshooting that as we speak, trying to make sure we are up and running the way we should be. So we will be ready to go here in just a minute.
Cool. I've got the commenting. Looks like we have 2 people watching on
Twitter.
On Twitter so far.
All right. Welcome, Twitter followers. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Fred and Scott here. We're getting ready to do episode 62 of the Birdland BS podcast. I got a lot to talk about, so we're a day late, and I apologize for that. I'll get into that in a minute. I am ready whenever you are, Scott.
All right. Let's go.
All right. This week on Birdland BS, it's episode 62. We're making it rain. The Ravens make it rain against the Bills. We got Thursday night football against the Bengals coming up. The Terps start the year 2-0. And it's 5 o'clock in Birdland. Stay tuned.
It's that time, so let's take it to the Birdland. That Baltimore home flavor is coming firsthand. Fred, Scott, and Ryan, tell them the word, man. Mixing a little BS to make it work, man. Boys, they got it. On excitement, the topic. Make sure when they toss you the ball, you don't drop it. With all that swag, you're gonna listen regardless. Here comes the pitch, so it's time to get it started. It's Birdland BS.
What's going on, BSers? Fred and Scott. Episode 62. It's Wednesday for all you real Birdland BS followers out there. This is not our normal day. I'd like to apologize to start off for that, for the delay on this week's episode. I know we have a bunch of you guys that are loyal fans out there who tune in every Tuesday at 8:45 to watch us. So my sincerest apologies with that. I wasn't going to get into why specifically I wasn't able to stream last night, Scott, but after the dozen text messages that I received from fans and family.
I said, just putting it out there, go back and look at people. I said he is okay and he will be at the show tomorrow.
I love all of you for being so concerned, but I wasn't dying. I wasn't injured or anything of the sort. Let's just say I wasn't in the right state of mind to do the podcast yesterday. You know what? Let's take a little dive into what happened yesterday, shall we?
You mean you wanted to kill some people?
Oh. All right. So I started off with, I had been thinking about upgrading my TV in my living room for a while. We've had the same 60-inch plasma TV now for like 6 or 7 years. Still a great TV. But, you know, for me, being a techie guy, I wanted the latest and greatest, the 4K and the HDR and all that stuff.
Right.
So we've got this great program through work where we can purchase, you know, straight through the manufacturers at a discounted rate. So cool. I'll go out and I'll get a really nice TV at a good price. Now I'm not going to smear their name or anything like that because that's not me, but their name rhymes with Schmam Schmung. I've always had good experience with their products in the past. Never had any issues. So I wasn't ready to invest into a TV with them. Ordered a real nice TV, and they offered me this bundle package of a Schmam Schmung wall mount to match perfectly with my Schmam Schmung TV. I thought, great, a perfect match mount. Now I don't have to buy a universal. Like, this is perfect, right? Come home yesterday after a long day. Delivery comes. I'm all excited. I take them out of the box. You know, I put the template up on the wall. I drill my holes and everything. And the instructions, everything on the box says it's so easy to do, right? Drill my holes. Realize none of the holes are in the studs where I want it, of course. So they give you all these options on the instructions. Like, if it's not in the studs, use this. If it's in the stud, use that. Well, it tells me to use parts F and G.
It had to be parts F and G, right?
Right. Tells me to use parts F and G if it's not into a stud. F and G are nowhere in the box. I ripped this thing completely apart, head to toe, looking for F and G. Can't find it anywhere. So I'm looking at all these spare parts, these that I have that are for other types of wall mounts. And I'm thinking, like, can I make this work? Will this, hold the TV? So I'm like, you know what? Before I do this and risk having this TV fall off the wall, I'm going to call Samsung tech support and just make sure it's okay. Herein starts problem number 2. Problem number 1 is that I don't have the right parts. Problem number 2 is I call Schmam Schmung and talk to them. They tell me, well, we recommend you call a professional installer. I said, okay, first of all, I've installed many TVs in my day. I said, this isn't about a professional install question. I'm asking you simply, 1, if F and G are supposed to be in the box like it says it is, am I just overlooking something? Or 2, can I use another part to make this
Where
work?
are F and G people?
Where
are
the
F&G?
hell is F and G, right? So the guy's like, well, I can't answer these questions for you. I'm like, you're in tech support, right? And he's like, yeah, but that's a sales question because they know the products that come within the parts. I'm like, okay. So they transfer me to sales. Go through the whole thing with them. Well, that's really a technical support question. Da-da-da. I'm like, I was already there. She's like, yeah, but you understand you're talking to a sales rep. I said, trust me, I understand. I'm in sales. I know how that goes. There's certain things. I know my restrictions, right? Well, let me get you back to another person in tech support. Go through the same thing with this person.
You talk to Joe. Let me give you to Steve.
Yeah. I go through the same thing with this person. He's like, well, that's actually a parts related question because the parts department will have a breakdown of everything that's supposed to be inside of the box. I'm furious at this point. I'm like, here we go, right? And he's like, I can't transfer you there. You have to call this number. Get off the phone. I call the number. Parts department, as anticipated, could not help me. We don't do tech support here. We just tell you if you got the right parts or not. I'm like, okay, does this box supposed to come with F and G? Yes, it's supposed to. Now, on the phone with them for over an hour. I am severely frustrated at this point.
Right.
I'm probably saying things I shouldn't have been saying and whatever. He says, well, the only option we have here is to return it. We can't do anything for you. We can't send you the individual parts. We can return it and ship you a whole new one. I said, I'm not going through that again. I'm not getting another mount and risking that F and G aren't in the box again. I'm not going through all that.
Not to mention parts A, B, and C won't be there this time.
Right. Here I am with holes in my wall now for a mount that I can't use. I'm pissed. I'm beyond pissed. So I'm like, fine, send me the return tag, whatever. I'll go out and buy a universal mount. Well, we had the podcast coming up. Time was ticking. I knew I wasn't going to be able to go out to the store and get a mount and be able to have this all done. I've got this brand new expensive TV out of the box sitting in my living room with a 100-pound golden retriever running around like a moron. I don't know what I'm going to do with this TV. I can't do anything with it. I'm thinking, okay, let me at least put the feet on and put it up on the stand. The feet are off by a half an inch on both sides where it won't fit on the stand. So now I'm even more frustrated. Anyway, that was my dealings yesterday. I was in a whole nother state of mind, could not think straight, did not think it would come across very well on the podcast. It's obviously not coming across very well today, a day later, so you can only imagine how it had been yesterday. So that's where I was yesterday.
What a day.
Oh, man, what a day it was. Well, for you guys out there that are still listening and care about anything that I have just wasted the first 5 minutes of the show talking about, Scott, you want to talk about the contest that we had going on and giving a shout out to the listeners?
Yeah, shout out to the listeners. We got up to 650 views last week on episode 61. We were shooting for 1,000, so we missed the mark a little bit. But you and I decided we're going to keep this contest going. Now, it's only going to run for the week between shows. So if
Here,
61
you know what? I'm
gets-
going to change it on the fly. Any episode that we hit 1,000 views moving forward from this episode on, every episode we hit 1,000 views, we'll give a T-shirt away and a package away.
There you
How
go.
about we do that?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Sounds
Let's
good
just
to
make
me.
that easy.
And that, we talked about it with that. That's all on Facebook. So make sure that you like and share the page. Share the actual episodes for the posts. We're gonna really make sure that we promote this as much as we can. We've got some stuff in the works. We talked about it before. You got to listen out soon because we've got a sponsor.
Yeah.
Finalizing some of the details here. Very local person, and hopefully we can. I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah. Local promoting local. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people, I'll drop a hint here. Some people may recognize this person.
Yeah, you may. If you're an Orioles fan, we'll put it to you that way, and you pay attention to the stands. Let's just say that. You pay attention to the stands. You may know who this person is.
Yeah. So that'll be coming up. And just make sure that you also check out the website if you do want to order yourself a shirt. Check out the website. There's a link to our little store with the company that we work with for the store. The cool thing about that one, I just ordered mine the other day. I'm gonna have a new hat coming. I got a new shirt coming with it's on my shirt. It's got @BirdlandBS, our Twitter handle for you, but you can put your name on it. You can put a number on it if you'd like.
Yeah,
And
cool.
the hat's actually, it's kind of cool. The hat's the same thing. So my hat's is gonna look pretty fly. So we'll get to debut that as soon as it comes in.
Nice.
Hopefully that'll be next week. So, but you know what? Let's dive right into
What everybody actually cares about.
Yeah. Let's dive into what everybody's tuning in for.
Right.
Ravens this week.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed. They made it rain on the Bills.
Yeah, it was a very pretty thing if you were a Ravens fan, a very ugly thing if you were a Bills fan.
I haven't seen my neighbor down the street, by the way, who's a huge Bills fan. They're from New York.
Oh,
I think
sure
she's
that
avoiding me.
conversation will go good. Big shout out to Engraven. So for you YouTubers out there, I had a chance to meet up with Engraven, and him and I went to the game together. He's in a situation where he was hoping to get a ticket to go to the game. I offered him an opportunity. He flew up from Florida, and we got to hang out with him a little bit at the tailgate.
Yeah, man.
Talked to him for a while. We did some live streaming with him from down in Lot H at the tailgate. Had a great time. Always like talking to him and kind of getting his insight on things. And we were probably two of the louder people up in our section. As you could tell, if you are an Engraven fan, he didn't have much of a voice there for the first day and a half afterwards. But yeah, man, a lot of fun. A big shout out to Engraven. Had a good time hanging out with him. But yeah, what was it? 47 to 3. Yeah, big game. Obviously, Joe Flacco can throw a wet football pretty well.
Yeah.
We going into the game, we had all talked about, with the weather being the way it was a crappy situation with all the rain.
We were a little worried going into that game.
Yeah.
Ryan was there at the tailgate too.
Absolutely.
And Ryan and his wife, and we were all talking, kind of talking like about the game. This could be really ugly, or it could be okay. We weren't expecting it to come out the way that it did. I don't think anybody was.
No, I kind of thought the game could go one of two ways. Once the rain started happening, I thought either this is going to come down to the last play of the game type of thing. It's going to just be an ugly, sloppy football game on both sides of the both sides
a
of the
running
field.
game.
Right. It's going to be a running, ground and pound kind of game, or the Ravens were going to end up winning this and shutting the Browns out, or shutting the Bills out. Now, I didn't think it would be to this kind of level, 47-3.
Maybe 17-0.
Yeah, maybe
something like
10-0,
that, 21.
9-0, like an ugly game. Either way, the Ravens' defense is still a good defense, and when they're stacked in the box, because all you can do is run in this weather, you're not going to score many points against this team, especially the Buffalo Bills.
And when Nathan Peterman's your quarterback.
Yeah, and their offensive line is awful. I want to say I think they picked up like 2 or 3 guys off of the 53-man cuts, like just to help their offensive line out.
And it didn't do anything.
It didn't do any good for them. But a couple of notes. We got to see a little bit of Lamar Jackson.
Just setting up the Lamar package for at some point during the future.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all that was.
There it was. Week 1, he was out on the field, even in the bad weather and everything. So it doesn't look like the Ravens have any hesitations with using him. And
I did find it interesting that each time was in the red zone.
Yeah, well, that was kind of my thoughts with it. Is Joe has always been great. Well, great's a strong word. Joe has always been good between the 20s. Where he struggles and where the team has struggled the most has always been in the red zone. And when you have a guy like Lamar, who, when you watch him run, when he takes off with the ball, you're almost like, like it wasn't a big run. But next thing you know, he took a chunk of 6 or 7 yards. And his 6 or 7 yards really only looks like 2 or 3 yards. But because he's got that speed and he can get around the edge, he led the Ravens this week in yards per carry, even over top of Alex Collins, who didn't have the greatest of games. But it was good to see them using him and mixing it up a little bit, whether he throws, whether he runs, whether Joe Flacco keeps the ball. What was your take on Lamar?
I definitely thought it was interesting. I mean, the one thing I didn't like, you gave away what you were doing when you put Flacco out at wideout. Everybody on the field, everybody in the stands, we all, in the section that I was in, we all just looked at them like, they're handing Lamar the ball and running him towards the opposite side from Joe. Nobody's dumb. Joe's not blocking. Joe's sitting over there. It's raining. I'm not moving.
Right. Right.
He wasn't, and he didn't. He literally just stood up when the play happened.
Joe has also caught a pass or two in his day. So even if he's a decoy down there, if they're not paying close enough
Lamar
attention,
wasn't the one throwing the pass. It was somebody that was a little bit unexpected.
It was Troy Smith, but yeah, no, I get it.
You mean Torrey Smith?
No, Troy Smith. Troy Smith. He was our
way back.
Another Heisman quarterback that we had from Ohio State back in the day that never amounted to much in the NFL. But nonetheless, the wide receiver core was one of my big surprises, I think, of the game. The fact that Flacco did a really good job of distributing the ball around to all of his receivers. We got to see touchdowns by all 3 of the new receivers, Crabtree, John Brown, Snead. I say Crabtree with some hesitation because in the beginning,
a few drops. It looked ugly.
It looked ugly in the beginning. We had talked about it earlier. Crabtree was something that we both noticed came out with no wide receiver gloves on, and I thought, all right, maybe he's just trying to get a better feel for the ball, and he thinks that he'll have better grip without the gloves on, and he dropped his first 2 passes, and I thought, you better go put the gloves back on because it's not working without the gloves. And he did. He went and put the gloves back on, and he came out for like 2 drives with the gloves on, but then they never threw him the ball. He takes the gloves off, comes back out, and then he catches one of the best toe touches in the back of the end zone that I've seen in a very, very long time. Not only did he get both feet in, but he got his first foot in twice.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It was really, really impressive. And from our point of view, being in the upper deck, it's kind of hard to see, the feet. But, man, when they showed it on that Jumbotron, unbelievable. Ingraven and I were just flipping out about it.
Oh, yeah. It was an amazing catch. And the timing and the fact that Joe's going up and making it look like he's getting ready to spike the ball.
Right.
Under center. Joe doesn't get under center very much.
Right.
And so when he gets under center, you think he's going to spike the ball at the end of the quarter. No, he played it perfectly.
Yeah.
And it worked perfect. And Crabtree played it perfectly as well. He did a slight hesitation move.
Right.
To get the guy to just be lax for you watch it back on video. Go back and don't watch the toe tap. Go back and watch him. Just that slight hesitation.
Create separation.
The cornerback just dropped his shoulders just a hair and
boom, he was off.
And that's what we talked about before. With Crabtree kind of lacking in the speed department, he's got to be smart.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he's got to be able to use his body, and he's got to be able to use his intelligence to create space and to get open. And that's a prime example of what he did there. Was, like you said, slow down just enough to get the receiver up on his body and to delay him, slow him down a bit.
Yeah.
Then took that step away from him to create space. Enough to keep his feet in, and an amazing catch. I think, again, all across the board, wide receivers looked good.
John Brown looked good, man.
Yeah, him and Flacco really have a good connection.
The first pass of the game, him going out to John Brown, it literally was right in front of me.
Yeah.
And you watch Brown, and that's the second when he went up. I didn't realize up until that point from where I was and where they were on the field, I didn't see that he didn't have gloves on, but I saw the hands come up, and I was like, "No gloves, please catch!" Like you better have some tackle on on your hands,
Stick'ems.
dude. And he caught it. It was a great catch, and it was perfect. So I think that was a great. I like the fact that it was the person that probably most people didn't expect was getting the majority of the throws, but at the same time they were covering Crabtree and Snead a little bit more. Snead didn't get very many touches on the ball. I think I didn't look at the numbers.
You
to
saw
see how,
more out of Snead later in the first half and the beginning of the second half. What I liked about Snead was he had a little bit of a tude to him, man. He caught the ball in traffic, and he muscled his way in for that 6-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
6 yards is what he kind of scrambled for after a contact to get into the end zone. So it's good to see that. I just think overall the offense played great. Obviously, we could have seen some better play from the running game, but with the way Flacco was throwing the ball, the way the defense was getting the ball back, we didn't really need to run the ball very much.
No. And special teams with Janarian Grant. I mean, great run back by him.
Yeah.
I think it was a 50-yard return, punt return. Again, he fielded that right in front of me. It was perfect. It was great. The one thing that I kept watching in the first half, especially in the first quarter, when they were kicking the ball our way, was he seemed to do it throughout the game. These guys they're not driving forward, and maybe it's because it's early in the year, but there's a lot of lateral movement when you got a guy in front of you, and it seems like everybody's trying to play that shifty, break his ankles game.
Right.
Sometimes you have to recognize you just got to go at him, and you're going to get the yard or two, because there were 2 or 3 times where he's trying to play shiftiness with this guy, and here comes another guy flying in, and they stopped him where he was. He got like maybe an extra yard. Versus if he would have just kept going and powered through it, he probably would have gotten another 3, 4, 5 yards.
Yeah.
On top of it. So that was my only complaint out of that. But I think overall, the special teams played well.
Going back to Grant, I mean, Janarian Grant is a very shifty guy, and that's kind of how he's going to create yardage is by he's got good quickness. He's not fast at all.
No.
But we call it shiftiness.
Right.
But his quickness is what
He's got good feet.
He's got good feet, and he's got good body control where he can absorb a tackle and make a tackler fall off of him. That's something that it's a feel. Playing football for years, it's a feel that you have where you anticipate the hit coming. You kind of see what side of your body it's coming from, and in a way, you almost let that side of your body go limp.
Right.
Because if you're standing there as a stiff runner and you're just coming straight at him, he's got a hard target to just grab onto and pull down. But if you just kind of let that side of your body go limp, people tend to fall off.
Yeah, so absorb the impact and let it bounce off almost.
If you watch him, he's got the ability to do that. Where he lacks is the straight ahead speed.
Right.
So that's where Janarian Grant's going to struggle the most. I think he ran like a 4.65 40 or something like that, which isn't very good for a returner in the NFL. But again, that's combine. What we saw in the game, I was pretty impressed with. He had the one muffed kick.
Right.
But in the rain, wet football, rookie, you're going to expect things like that to happen. It was no harm, no foul. Ball ended up going out of bounds anyway, and it stayed with the Ravens. But yeah, definitely liked what I saw out of Janarian Grant.
Yeah, huge game for him. And the team, the other thing I like, from a defensive side of the ball, they shut up and they didn't let off the gas. That was one thing that you and I have been very critical of, and what we said would kind of make or break our opinions of this season, is that when they got ahead on a team, especially these teams that they're expected to do well against and they're favored against, if you get ahead of them, you can't let off the gas. And boy, didn't they.
Yeah.
They stayed on top of them. They were getting the sacks left and right. Even when Josh Allen comes into the game, they pick up a sack. It was the overall game of saying, we're not going to let you go. They wanted that. I tell you what, at defense, they were pissed when they gave up that 3 points.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They wanted a shut. When you got into the third quarter, they wanted the shutout.
Yeah, and honestly, that the shutout really came from a BS pass interference call on Brandon Carr. That was awful. There was no contact there at all.
All these phantom calls.
He turned around and was looking for the ball. Clearly, I mean, if you watch the replay, it was an awful call, and that obviously led to the field goal. So yeah, the Ravens don't get the shutout, but nonetheless, a huge defensive performance. And one thing that you and I had talked about before the season started, one thing that we were impressed with from the preseason was the pass rush, and that was something that continued into week 1.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, they were on top of it with all the sacks. Sizzle getting a sack again. We called him out on the previous show. That he's getting up there, and how much more? Well, he's proven he's able to be out there with these young guys. Young getting a sack.
Yeah, Young really impressed me, man. His we talk about sideline to sideline quickness, like his ability to close on a runner is really impressive. Didn't hear a whole lot out of Matt Judon, but one guy that stepped up and had a big game, and I wasn't really sure on what to expect from him, was Zadarius Smith. This guy was a monster. I want to say he could have had 3, maybe even 4 sacks during that game had things kind of broke his way and whatnot. But, man, he was in the backfield wreaking havoc all game long. Tim Williams, another one, in situations when they used him, was constantly in the backfield.
They were putting pressure on Peterman left and right. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it just, again, we talk about this all the time, but the pass rush is so critical to the defense and the ability to defend the pass because, again, the more pressure you get on a quarterback, the more uncomfortable they are, the less your corners and your safeties have to cover. It's just it's good for the defense as a whole. And that was one of the things that were my biggest takeaways from the game was the pass rush for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right there on with you. One thing on the other side of the ball that we didn't bring up, Dixon,
and Graven's boy. Yeah, Kenneth Dixon is a guy that
he's a glass man. He
really is. It's sad because you can see in flashes when he plays.
You see the sparks.
He's got potential, but like Graven said, what does potential do for you if you can't stay on the football field? It means nothing. And that's been this guy's entire NFL career so far. He has not been able to stay on the football field. And him and I were talking about it before the game. We're like, all right, let's put it all aside. Let's give him a break. Let's see how he does for a couple games, whatever.
Game 1.
Didn't
IR.
even last that long. So Dixon to the IR, and the Ravens recalled Delance Turner from the practice squad. A guy that came on late in preseason. They didn't really use him much in the first couple preseason games, but you saw he has the ability to make big plays. He's, again, another guy that's got some decent speed. I think that he's a good change of pace between, obviously your horse is going to be Alex Collins all year long. For all you fans out there that are panicking about Alex Collins not having a great week 1, relax. The weather was awful. The passing game was fire. Like, they didn't need to rely on Alex Collins very much and the running game at all.
I tell you what, the passing game, if anything, the fact that we should just showed Cincinnati and all these other teams what we're able to do in the rain with this team.
Right.
Everybody knows those conditions were not there.
Yeah.
Everybody was expecting a running game. And guess what? They didn't get it. So when you do that, all you're going to do is you're going to open up the running game. When you can put the ball deeper, you can put the ball over the middle and not be scared and know that your team is going to get the ball and control it and catch it. With the exception of those few drops, you're going to be able to open it up for them a lot more than people think.
Absolutely.
And Collins is, I think you see a little bit of a bounce back against Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, I think he bounces back in a big way against Cincinnati. So just pump your brakes on everything, right? So I know we won 47-3. This team's not going to be a 47-3 team every week in and week out. So relax with that. But again, Joe Flacco threw for 230 some yards and 3 touchdowns in like 2 1/8 of quarters of play. I mean, they took him out, I think, with like 12 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what this guy's stats would have been had he played the entire game? I mean,
through the roof.
Yeah, it was insane. So yeah, Ravens win 47-3 now, 1-0. We head to Cincy on the road, who's coming off of a 34-23 win in Indy versus the Colts. We saw, Andrew Luck obviously come back and
didn't look bad in his return.
Didn't look bad. Yeah, you got to put one foot in front of the other. You got to set your expectations with this guy, but he 100% gives the Indianapolis Colts a better chance week in and week out of winning.
Everybody's worried about the turnaround on this with the basically a 3-day turnaround. I have to say, I'm not as worried about. You have to understand when they have games like this and they have these short turnarounds, they're game planning. They game planned for this last week.
Right.
They're just they did a walkthrough yesterday. They did a walkthrough on Monday. They did a little bit more physical walkthrough on Tuesday. And then today they're traveling. So, maybe tonight there's a small team meeting, walkthrough, checking film, stuff like that. And then tomorrow it's game time.
Yep.
So, you have to recognize they game plan for this. And it's not just us. It's Cincy. Cincy's going short too.
Yeah, and if you're going to do this, better to do it in the beginning of the year when you're still fresh. And there's no competitive advantage here. Cincy's on the same schedule that we're on. As far as, they're not coming off of a Sunday game or a Monday game and they've got longer, time in between or anything. Time off is the same.
Well, I tell you one thing that I thought was interesting to hear. There was Dennis Pitta, he's on some of the local shows and stuff like that. And he said one of his statements was the fact that he's going through, and he used to love, he was like, you won't hear very many players, but a few say this. He said, I used to love Thursday nights, and here's why. Yes, especially for them, a situation like this where it's early in the season, you have to wait till your bye week for week 10, but you get a break and you get the extra recovery afterwards.
Right.
So you get a week and a half, whereas everybody else is getting maybe a week, to recover.
Right.
So that he said normally when you play a game on Sunday, you're 100% maybe Friday.
Right.
So they're not going to be going into the game 100%, but it's at the beginning of the year, so you're a little bit fresher. You have a little bit more fresh bodies out there as well. And then the fact that you have a little bit longer recovery time to come back in week 3.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. It's a different take on it. I do know a lot of players have been quoted as saying they hate Thursday night football and it's annoying and they just need to, but at the same time, are they thinking about it from a perspective like Pitta? You're getting an extra recovery day, and really it's kind of like getting an extra week off.
Right.
Not fully, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, it's all in how you look at it. It's a lot of it's mental. But again, no competitive advantage here. Everybody's kind of on the same playing field as far as time off goes and everything. But yeah, so we go into Cincy, a team that has been a little bit of a bug up our butt, for the lack of a better term, for the past few years. Most recently, obviously, the last game of last year that knocked us out of the playoffs. I wonder if that carries an edge for the Ravens going into Cincy. Do they obviously they're talking about it in the interviews and all that stuff that, how they couldn't sleep and Tony Jefferson's heart sunk and didn't come back up for 3 days. And there's all these players with recapping their feelings from last year. Is last year at this point, or do they get a little bit of an edge going into to Cincy to kind of stick it to them?
Last year better be last year at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you better be over it. It's to hang on to something like that. Yeah, is it in the back of people's minds? Yeah, but you can't. This is a different team.
Yeah, but you can also use it to your advantage. You can also use it to as motivation type thing. And that's more what I'm saying is do the Ravens go in there a little bit more extra motivated based on what happened to them last year by getting knocked out of the playoffs. Andy Dalton had a big game against the Colts. Joe Mixon, the Cincinnati's running back, has leaps and bounds improved from where he was his rookie year. Some people out there are even saying that he should be considered in the whole Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, top of the tier running back group. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far yet. He needs to kind of prove himself for a stretch of games before you start kind of comparing him there.
Right.
But this is a guy that came with a lot of baggage out of Alabama. Obviously, he had the domestic abuse case that was going on against him, or domestic assault case.
Right.
Has kind of turned his life around a little bit and stayed out of the news in a bad way, and has looked pretty good so far this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
In week one,
it's you can't deny the numbers. I mean, simple as that.
Yeah, Dalton. Talk about numbers: 21 for 28 with 243 yards and 2 touchdowns against Indy. It's nothing to bat an eye at.
No.
Now Indy's defense is no Ravens defense.
No.
And we'll see. I mean, look, Ravens went in week 1 in Cincy last year and shut Cincy down at home. Shut them out in their own stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know if we see that again this year. I'd be great. I'd be happy to see that. But either way, this is a big game for the Ravens. Every division game is big. And I know it's hard to say week 2 that this means so much.
In football, you have so few games. Every game means something. Every game can put you in or out of the playoffs. It's a little bit different in baseball when you're playing 162 to be able to say, oh, this game put us – no. But in football, yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah, and you look at last week, the Steelers took on the Browns and ended in a tie. And you might look at that – you can look at it one or two ways. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. But a tie is still – a half a win. And when you're talking about division wins, you get down to the end of the year and you've got the same amount of wins as the Steelers, but the Steelers have that extra tie that gives them the division title over us. So again, every division game matters. Cincinnati has always been a thorn in our side. So this is a game that I want to see the Ravens come out same way that they came out last week, strong. You might see a change in game plan, obviously, from team to team.
Yeah.
They may obviously try to get Alex Collins in the running game more involved than they did last week.
You have to.
You have to, right. But I'd love to see the Ravens come out, first drive of the game, put 7 on the board, and just keep the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, the big thing for the defense is, we talked about Dalton, but also A.J. Green.
Yeah.
Averaging 15.3 yards per reception in that game, 6 receptions for 92 yards with 1 TD. While he didn't light it up with over 100 yards, he's still a threat, people. You got to remember that. Dalton's going to go to him. If it's a tight spot, that defense better be finding A.J. Green.
Oh, yeah. A.J. Green, without a doubt, is one of the best top-tier wide receivers in this league. And now the Bengals get back John Ross, who was their number 1 pick in the draft last year, who ended up getting injured. But this is a guy that's got amazing speed. Imagine Brashad Perryman, but actually with hands. This guy's got really good speed. He's got the ability to catch the ball. So you can't just put all your focus on A.J. Green because Ross will kill you.
Yeah, no.
And one of the things that going back to last week that I was pretty impressed with, Marlon Humphrey played a hell of a game. Granted, he didn't have the best quarterbacks throwing against him, but nonetheless played most of the game against Kelvin Benjamin, shut him down pretty well. Brandon Carr had a big game.
Yeah.
Brandon Carr is going to struggle against the faster wide receivers, so this will be a challenge for him next week.
I agree.
It just kind of depends on, do they lock Marlon Humphrey up with A.J. Green and keep Humphrey on A.J. Green all week or all game, and then you leave Brandon Carr out, with him?
I think you have to do that, and then you give him help with Tony Jefferson. over the top. And, Wedd'll be the inside guy. As far as safety goes, I think that's going to be your best option there. And sorry, you brought up Perriman, you brought up Ghost here. He reportedly worked out for the Vikings this past weekend. They have Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Laquan Treadwell. Mm-hmm. He's trying to be number 4. Fan-sided, if you ever watch any of the articles that they put out, they had an article that came out that said Perriman is a quote-unquote upgrade from the other guys on the team. How sad is that? How much are you grasping at straws that you are going to go to Ghost and the worst hands in the league?
Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense to me. Why would you even think that would be okay? Why would you even think that would be something that we would want to do?
I mean, I get it. He was a first-round wide receiver. Maybe, you think from the outside looking in, you look at it and you go, all right, the Ravens are terrible at drafting wide receivers. They're terrible at developing wide receivers. Maybe it's not so much him. Maybe it's them. So let's take a look at him. They haven't seen him day in and day out like we have. We've seen him through training camp. We've seen him through practices. Brashad is what Brashad is. He has no hands. He has stones for hands. But maybe they think it's a developmental thing. Maybe they think it's a mental thing. Some people just like a challenge. Who the hell knows? But
yeah.
If any of you out there in Viking land can get to your GM, stay away from that guy. We're just trying to be friendly and give you the heads up. Don't sign.
No. Take him, make him your number one receiver. Take him, make him your Pittsburgh. I hear Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Totally.
Go ahead. Oh my goodness! Well, let's take a second and do a quick little social media shout out here before we get into some Terps football.
All right, sounds good. On Facebook, I see you, Debbie. I see you watching. Ryan, a couple Ryans actually. I see a few of you there. Jamie, I'm sure you're downstairs watching. James, as always, and that's all I see on my end. I don't know if you see anybody on your end.
I'm a little bit limited on my end because we're monitoring a little bit differently this week.
Okay. What do we got going on Twitter?
On Twitter, we've had a few people come in, and nobody's really chiming in. We just had Bonda Corsi join us. A Camison has been watching. So we have had plenty of people doing it. For those watching on Twitter, please, during the live, please feel free to comment, leave comments, talk to us. We're
retweet the feed.
Retweet the feed, get it out there. I've seen several retweets kind of come across as we've been doing this, so we appreciate those of you that are doing it. We're going to be going live on Twitter. It's going to be our new thing for a little while, so be kind of watching out with it. So again, social media wise, Facebook, we're looking to get our views up.
Yeah.
And anyone that we get over 1,000 views on, we are going to give away a Birdland BS package, including a shirt, magnet, and some stickers.
Yeah.
And that's for any of our videos that are over 1,000 views. So to be qualified, you have to like our page and you have to share the posts and share the post for the videos. So definitely be sure to check it out. And who knows, if we get enough Twitter, we might have to do the same thing for Twitter if we get enough views on Twitter at some point.
Yeah, I like it.
So we'll see what's going on.
Ryan, I see you out there, man. 15 years season ticket holder. That's pretty impressive. We appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you'll come back and watch us again. But thanks for watching the stream.
He's saying by the way, he's a 15-year season ticket holder with the Terps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, awesome. So that's why he's actually chimed in. He asked if we were going to be talking Terps, if we were going to talk Terps basketball or football when the Ravens were seasons or whatever. I was like, that's going to be coming up here shortly. Just don't worry. We're coming up to it.
Matter of fact, let's hop right into it.
Yeah, man.
So, the Terps, we haven't had a whole lot of time to really talk about them. We try to keep this show to an hour and a half at most. And with everything going on with the Ravens, we've kind of skimmed over the Terps, and that's not fair. We're a Maryland sports podcast, so let's talk a little Terps.
To be fair, we did hit on the Terps a little bit. It just wasn't in the best of light because of the situations. So we've decided. Ryan, you actually are not the first one to say something about it. We've actually had some other people say something, but I know that you've been watching almost every week over the past few weeks. So we're going to be kind of getting into it every week now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Terps started off season 2-0 with 2 big wins. Obviously, week 1 coming up against Texas. They beat a ranked Longhorn team 34-29. That's 2 years in a row now that the Terps have started off against Texas and ended up with wins last year in Texas, this year at home
Yep.
in Maryland. Big win there. Obviously the team had a lot of controversy around it, and they've been through a lot. So for me, it was good to see the players rally together and rally around the situation and play as well as they did. Because, at the end of the day, this is about the kids, right? This is about the players, and they did nothing wrong in this situation. Say what you want about the program, say what you want about the coaching staff, say what you want to say about the president of the school. That's all fair. That's all fine. But at the end of the day, cheer these players on.
From anything, I look at it and say they lost, especially the O-line.
Yeah.
They lost not just a player, but to many of them a friend.
Yeah.
Just 2 months ago, I guess they're almost 3 months ago at this point.
Right.
They lost a player and they're playing the heart out for him.
Yeah.
They came out in the first game. I thought it was a great tip of their cap that they go out with the empty spot for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I thought it was who did they? I can't even remember who they played. I'm like drawing a blank right now. But
last week, Bowling Green.
Bowling Green. They declined the penalty.
Yeah.
I thought
you're talking about the first week. First week was against
yeah.
Texas.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, it's so that's Texas declining. And saying we're gonna decline that. I thought that was an underrated move.
Absolutely, I totally
very
agree.
underrated.
Totally agree. So yeah, week 1, big win against Texas. This past Saturday, took on Bowling Green. And if you looked at it on paper, should have been an easy game for the Terps to handle. But man, they came out the first half.
It was sloppy, wasn't it?
It was real sloppy. They had big plays, but everything was just negated by penalty after penalty after penalty. It seemed like on every play there was a yellow flag being thrown for something. A lot of the calls were on the offensive line, whether they were holding or things of that nature. But man, I tell you, second half obviously a big turn. With the final score ended up being 45-14. This team rushed for over 400 yards as a team. They have one hell of a stable of running backs there.
Yeah, you were able to watch a lot more of this game than I was. You said the running back core just looked on fire during this game.
Yeah, their runners, no matter who they had back there, they have Lorenzo Harrison. They got McFarland. They've got, what's the guy's Smith? I can't think of his last name. Either way, they had 4 running backs, 3 of which had over 100 yards rushing each. It was really, really impressive to see. And they've got another guy in Funk who is out. So they've really got a stable of 5 legit running backs down there in Maryland. Now, the one thing that I thought I'd see a little bit more progress with would be the quarterback play, Kasim Hill. He was a guy that, matter of fact, let me take it back a little bit. So was it last year or the year before? You think the year before, Dwayne Haskins, who is the quarterback now starting at Ohio State, he was being heavily recruited by Maryland, had committed to Maryland, and then right before commitment, signing time, changed his commitment from Maryland to Ohio State. And now he's doing big things in Ohio State.
I'm sure you're liking that, Fred.
I am a Ohio State fan, so I'm okay with it. I was actually kind of disappointed because I wanted to see Haskins come here. Haskins was highly rated, really good pocket passer. But nonetheless, he goes there, and Maryland saves grace by bringing in Kasim Hill, who was also another local quarterback who was, in pretty high regard. I think he was a 4-star or 3-star quarterback. So, he had some good, he played really well in high school. So he got a little bit of playing time in the very beginning of the season last year as a freshman, but then went down with injury. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, he's had a year to kind of get adjusted to college life. He's had a year to, kind of progress in things and get back from his injury. Now, granted, it's only 2 weeks into the season, but this is also against some of your softer competition. You know, you gotta kind of get things going in the right direction now before you start getting into Big Ten play.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen enough out of him yet. Fortunately enough, like I said, the running game has been super strong there, and we'll see how long that can carry us. You know, this offensive line, once you start getting up against some of the bigger defensive tackles and whatnot in the Big Ten, they may struggle. And the running game's obviously going to be affected by that. But we'll see.
Well, speaking of defense, I know you said that Isaiah Davis, the inside linebacker, had 2 sacks in big first half for him.
That guy was all over the field. He had a huge game. Considering he was kind of thrown into the position this year when man, I'm drawing blanks with these guys' names because it's been so long since we talked about the Terps. But guy went to the NFL. Can't think of his name. I don't think he's actually on a roster right now. But anyway, Davis steps up for his, in a big way. Had 2 sacks again, all over the field. It was a really good defensive game for this team once they got out of the first half. They were flying all over the field. Really didn't give their quarterback much of an opportunity to throw the ball.
Right.
Made him uncomfortable. They ended up switching to their backup quarterback like midway through the third quarter, just to try to take the pressure off. But yeah, Terps start off the year 2-0. They take their next game home this Saturday against Temple, 12 o'clock, which again on paper should be another game that they should be able to start the year off 3-0. Hopefully. Hopefully they stay with the intensity that they've been playing with, and don't take a night off. Each win, for college football, for you guys out there that aren't real versed on college football, you need at least 6 games. You need at least 6 wins to become bowl eligible.
He said J.C. Jackson, by the way.
That's his name, J.C. Jackson. Yes, thank you, Ryan. So you need 6 games to become bowl eligible. And again, once you get into Big Ten play, you start playing the likes of Ohio State and Michigan State and whatnot. Yep. The wins are going to become harder and harder to come by. So these games here that are on paper that you should win, you need each and every single one of them if you want to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, you have to. And it's, that's obviously all these teams' goals, not just from a standpoint of, getting a championship, but let's not forget that there are financial backings behind bowl games.
Absolutely.
So you get into a bowl game, there's financial backings from the NCAA, and it's for these guys for extra scholarships, for extra recruiting, things like that. So it's not just we want to get there to win a championship. There are things that come along with it that you have to remember. These schools need, want, and are driving for. Yeah. So that's, like you said, every little one of those things, even just getting to the bowl game gets you something. So you've got to win those small games on paper.
And how much this would mean to this team, considering the situation and what they've gone through, what this would mean to Matt Canada, taking over as the head coach now with Durkin still being under investigation and suspended by the university. This would be huge for him to be able to take a team going through adversity like this, going back to a bowl game, which they haven't been in a few years. They started off the year great, 2-0. Go at home against Temple. You need to get this win. You're halfway there at that point. You get that win, you're halfway there to being bowl eligible. So we'll see what happens. One thing in Birdland, not going so well. You called this segment. It's 5 o'clock in Birdland, Scott.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's 5 o'clock in Birdland. Everybody grab one of these, pop open that beer, because that's what this season is. Everybody was questioning going into September the 50 wins.
Right.
I don't think it's happening at this point. We're at 41. We're 1-4 last week, and we were swept by the Rays in their throwback unis. Which I love those unis, by the way. I love the old school, like purple and green and yellow unis. I love those. What are your thoughts on getting swept by that Rays team?
At this point, nothing surprises me. Again, you said it. We've won 41 games on this year. We haven't won very many series at all. The pitching has looked atrocious. I think how they're handling Adam Jones is kind of crappy in my opinion.
Right.
With keeping him on the bench. And again, this is a guy in a contract year who has decided to stick it out for the year with the team. And now they're benching him because they want to look at other players. But these guys that they have up here aren't pieces for the future. The guys that they're replacing him with aren't going to be the people that are going to bring back this rebuild and bring back the promise to Birdland.
No.
That's my biggest gripe with this whole thing is if you really want to evaluate the young talent, bring up the young talent that's going to mean something.
You've got to. When you look at this roster for the 40-man roster, I'm just going to spiel these off real quick. Dylan Bundy, Cody Carroll, Andrew Kastner, Miguel Castro, Alex Cobb, Paul Fry, Sean Gilmartin, Michael Givens, David Hess, Ryan Messinger, Luis Ortiz, Jeffrey Ramirez, Josh Rogers, Tanner Scott, Mike Wright, Jimmy Yacobonis, Caleb Joseph, Chance Sisco, Austin Wins, Tim Beckham, Chris Davis, Corbin Joseph, Nunez, Jace Peterson, Braic Valera, Jonathan Villar, Steve Wilkerson, John Androli, Adam Jones, Trey Mancini, Cedric Mullins, Joey Rickard, DJ Stewart.
90% of what you just said will not be here in the next 2 to 3 years.
Let's also remember, 90% of what I just said, we've already seen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right.
So why would I bring up a guy like Valera and not bring up another guy that you could use in the outfield and see how he's done? Or Androli. Why would you not bring up Austin Hayes?
Yeah, I know. That's my gripe.
Why would you not bring up using the LDS?
Why would you not bring up Ryan Mountcastle?
Exactly. You don't have a third baseman right now. You don't.
Right.
Nunez is playing third base for you, and he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're obviously not worried about wins and losses. Wins and losses at this point mean absolutely nothing.
No.
So why not bring these guys up when you're not losing any kind of eligibility in any kind of way or doing any kind of harm to bringing them up? You've got the best of the best as far as coaching goes, supposedly, at the major league level. Why not let them learn? Why not, why not give them every opportunity that you can give them to succeed? It rubs me the wrong way to the point where I don't even feel like watching this team on most nights.
I was talking about it with somebody at work today, and Diaz is probably the biggest thing that both of us were talking that pissed us off on this situation. Because here's a guy, you're not losing team control. Let's remember that. With every single one of these guys, it's not losing team control. He's in AA right now. Why not just boost him over AAA? He's been playing well. Let him come up. What does he do against at-bats and some of these pitchers? Because let's remember who we're going up against. We're going up against the Yankees, the Red Sox, the A's, the White Sox, and the Astros to end out the year. So let's remember that. Let's remember these teams are in contention, so they're going to be seeing the best of the best.
But Scott, Bowie's trying to win a championship right now. Bowie's trying to win a championship. Did you hear that Bowie, I don't know if it was the coaching staff, I can't remember, somebody was pissed off in the front office because the Indians had Josh Donaldson down in their minor league system at the AA level, and they were using him in a playoff game. And Bowie's like, what are you doing? You're stacking your team to try to... Why are you worried about AA championships?
It's ridiculous.
Your biggest problem right now is your Major League Baseball product.
I understand they're an affiliate, but you have to recognize it doesn't matter. Because here's the deal. If somebody else goes and picks them up as an affiliate, there's going to be an opening. Because there are limitations to the number of your affiliates.
Yeah,
there's going to be an opening. So with that being said, I really don't... I could care less what the hell's going on in Bowie. Great, Bowie wins a championship with a team that probably should have been here so we can see how many of these guys are going to get roster invites to spring training. Yep. That's what Diaz, it needs to happen with Diaz. He needs to come up so we can determine, is he worth the roster invite? Because if he comes up here and he completely falls on his face and falls flat, I may not give him a roster invite. I may get him back, keep him in Bowie, keep him in AA, let him start the season in AA. Is he doing okay? Oh, still doing okay. All right, let's ease him in to the majors by putting them through AAA. That's really what AAA is all about. AAA is that middle ground for guys that can't make that leap to say, you know what, we're going to put you back, but we're not going to put you all the way back down here. We're going to put you in with the guys that most of them have experience in the majors. Most of them.
Right.
So that's my huge thing. Bring up a guy like Diaz and bring up a guy like Mountcastle. Bring up a guy like Austin Hayes. Stop this jerk in the chain crap.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it's just it just shows where the state of mind is for this team. And at this point, I don't care whether it's Buck, Dan, or Brady, or the Angeloses. Nobody's taking responsibility for this. Nobody's coming out and saying anything. You're all to blame now.
Yeah.
You're all to blame. Even I'm not blaming you for the losing season. I'm blaming you for not looking at what you have.
Right.
Period. Simple as that. I mean, we hit 100 losses. 40. Yep. We're 40 as of Monday. We were 41 and 102.
Yeah.
We had 19 games left. Nine games isn't even thinkable. It's out of it. So at this point, it's ridiculous. And I like David Hess, but he made national headlines this past week. Did you see this pitch?
Oh, the 50 Cent pitch, the one
that's worse than 50 Cent.
Yeah, I did.
A professional baseball player, like it straight out came. They showed it. It straight out came out of his hands and went behind his head, over to the side, over to the bench. Like
this year is just. I mean, anything. Every game you could find a blooper reel type highlight to add to what was an amazing 2018 season.
The Rays commentators too said they were like, this pitch that just sums up the Orioles season.
Exactly.
I went, yep, exactly. You got it. You know us more than we even do.
Well, the Orioles are going to round out the season. They're playing versus the A's right now in Oakland. Then they've got the White Sox, the Jays, then home against the Yankees and Boston. That'll be fun. And then end up the season at home against the Astros. Yeah, 9 games against those teams with this team. Get out of here. 50 wins is not happening. I don't even know why we're even focused on that number. What does 50 mean to this team anyway? Been a rough year, man.
It's been really
being
rough.
Birdland BS and trying to be as positive as we possibly can with this team, without being overly homerish, is really, really tough when things are going on the way that they are in the front office and with this team top to bottom.
Yeah, man.
Fantasy football has been something that you and I have been doing together. We've got a couple things going on. Obviously, we have the Birdland BS League with some of you followers out there. It's been a lot of fun so far. We week 1 is officially in the books.
Yeah, man.
I won my first matchup against Joe, and that was without having a kicker. So we put a rule in place. I put a rule in place where you had to draft smart because you couldn't do any add or drops until after week 1 was complete. That was a rule that I put in. Keeps people from stacking up on running backs, wide receivers, things of that nature, because you need to draft backups at other positions in case something like Dan Bailey gets cut from the Cowboys and you don't have a kicker.
Nobody saw that coming. Except for maybe Cowboys fans, maybe.
My stupidity for not drafting a backup quarterback when I made the rule and I did this for this sole purpose, took the chances, didn't draft a backup kicker, but still ended up winning week 1 against Joe. I know you had your matchup against Jess.
Aaron Rodgers, man. I hate him, but I love him. Like, I felt bad when he went down because, like, I think she needed, like, at that point, she had, like, 30 points or 40 points, and I was like, it's not going to happen. He goes down. She texts me, and she's like, well, that was a fun week. Thanks for the play. And then Sucker comes back out. And lights my butt up to the tune of literally beating me. She beat me by 3.5 points. I was only like 87 points, at total, and she beat me by 3.5. Yeah. So cheers to you, Jess. But I hate you at the same time because you chose Aaron Rodgers and you chose him as the first overall draft pick. Now I kind of look like an idiot because I lose to him with that. And he was injured.
Yeah.
He was a pocket statue. He didn't even freaking move
his
during that
knee
game.
Is messed up. Matt, I see you join the feed. I saw the video that you retweeted or you reposted on Facebook of his of Aaron Rodgers' interview after the game. Dude was high as a kite.
Oh, they put him on something, yeah.
Drugs are bad. Let me just say, like this, he was higher than woo. If you get a chance, go watch the interview that he did with Michelle Tafoya, I think is her name, after the game. Hilarious.
So if he fails a piss test, do I win that? Do I win week 1?
Yeah.
I'll take. I need to go on a flight to Green Bay.
We didn't write a rule in for that. Ryan Redhead, haven't seen you in a while, man. We need to get you back on the show. But he had his matchup against Gene. Called me before kickoff and is like, "Oh man, Gene's an idiot. He left Carson Wentz in as his starter and didn't put in a backup quarterback and blah blah blah." Well, Redhead, you still lost. Gene ends up winning without a quarterback. So that puts me at 1-0, you at 0-1, and Ryan at 0-1. I like the way that this league's going
It's
so
week
far.
1. You know what? We got to tip our cap to the dark horse here.
Yeah.
190 points, highest in the league by I think 40.
Oh, easily. Jeepers Creepers, Christy. She had Tyreek Hill, who had 39.8 points. Alvin Kamara, who had 39.6. Russell Wilson, 23.42. Gronk, 20.8. And that's just giving
She
you
still
her,
has 3 more players.
Right, that's just
Four
giving you her-
more players and a kicker and a defense.
All right, that's just her top 4 scores. I mean, across the board, her team just lit it up. So, yeah, highest scoring team of the week, Christy, with 190 points. I'm pretty sure that score may hold up for the entire year. We'll keep tabs on that as we go. But another league that we're in, it's the Baltimore League. So for you Twitter followers out there, go follow at Baltimore1 on Twitter. And it's
That's at BRAWLTIMORE.
1.
One.
The number 1. It's basically a conglomerate of a whole bunch of podcasters, bloggers, and personalities in the Baltimore area. Scott and I have a team that we drafted together in that league. We had our first matchup this week against 105.7 The Fans, Kyle Andrews.
We lit him up.
We made light work of Kyle. 152-90.
Love you, Kyle, but
we love you, Kyle, but you suck at fantasy football.
This week.
152-90 to start the year off 1-0. This week, we take on Matt Stevens of the Ravens Wire and co-host of Locked On Ravens. Follow him on Twitter at @MatthewS_NFL. Good guy.
Did we say Kyle's, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
At Kyle Andrews 1994, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. So follow both of those guys. We have a projected score to win this week as well, Scott. 126-115. Now, we know projections mean nothing. But it'd be pretty sweet to start this league off 2-0.
Yeah, we need to get bragging rights on this league. That's for sure.
And now it's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, Scott. It's 2-minute warning time. You are on the clock this week, my friend. Let's you run with this one. There were some interesting things going on in the world of sports this week. Hopefully,
Yeah, I don't have too many. Again, it continues to be like it's light time on like major sports news, but there's some sports news that I'm like, I think I have like 6 points, but they're like long points.
that
So,
and things that's like can't go without being said. So, all right, Scott, your 2-minute warning. It starts now.
well, Serena Williams had a meltdown in the U.S. Open Finals match after being penalized a game by the judge for coaching when her coach gave her a quote-unquote thumbs up. She was penalized with conduct violation by the judge after calling him a thief for taking the game from her. She's up in arms about that. She ended up losing the match to 20-year-old Naomi Osaka of Japan after Williams was also fined $17,000 by the U.S. Open for her remarks. Crazy situation. Yeah. It's causing all sorts of problems. In tennis as well, Novak Djokovic wins over Juan Martin Del Potro at the U.S. Open men's finals. With that win, he ties Pete Sampras for 14 career Grand Slam titles. And now he chases Rafael Nadal, who has 17, and Roger Federer, who has 20. Novak at 31 may be able to catch the 37-year-old Federer's 20, but the 32-year-old Nadal will be a little harder to catch. Only time will tell for those guys. In PGA Tour news, the 2018 BMW Championship took place near Philadelphia this week. Wrapped up on Monday because of some play that was suspended over the weekend for heavy storms. Winner wound up being Keegan Bradley over world number 5 Justin Rose in a one-hole playoff. But the big story, Tiger. He went into Monday tied for 11th at -12, ended at -17, tied for 6th. But during that on Monday, he worked his way up to 4th place. Big finish for Tiger. This weekend saw our first ejection for the NFL helmet-to-helmet rule. Sean Williams ejected in the first quarter for a hit on Andrew Luck. While it did seem a little rough, malintended, and some even say a little bit late, was it really ejection worthy? In my opinion, player safety is important, but there's a fine line that's becoming more like a broad stroke of abstract art interpretation. Finally, last but not least, in NFL news, Dez Bryant was stated as saying that he had interest in Redskins and Patriots. Almost got it in as spots for his skill set. Less than 24 hours, both teams said, we're not interested. Little thinking point here. You mean to tell me no team is interested or is offered for Dez Bryant at 29 years old, at least to be a number 2 or number 3 guy? But yet Brashad, your friendly ghost Perryman, is getting invites to work out. Well, I'm calling collusion on Jerry Jones, telling owners if he didn't want him, no one can have him.
I think a lot of the Dez stuff has to do with Dez.
Oh, Dez
and
the
is personality Dez, yeah. that Dez is. He'll be with the team before the end of the year. Teams will get desperate enough that they'll end up bringing him in. But speaking of a Bryant, though, what the hell is going on in Oakland with Martavius Bryant? This is a guy that they traded for. Then they cut him. Now they're re-signing him to another 1-year deal. What the hell kind of Zoloft stuff is going on in Oakland? Somebody's got some crazy schizophrenia or some crazy
I think John Gruden just had John
bipolar.
Gruden's calling the shots over there. I think it is, and he's just doing whatever he can.
Oh, man, I don't know, but Oakland did not look good in their first game.
No.
The other night.
Started to look good in the first quarter.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch came out like old beast mode. I mean, dude, that guy is a monster when it comes to trying to tackle him. He's got to be one of the harder running backs in the league to bring down. He has so much lower body strength and keeps going.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that game did not end well.
No, not at all. Well, another great show, Fred.
Yes, sir.
Episode number 62 is in the books yet again. We want to remind all of you guys, be sure to check out our website, www.birdlandbs.com. You saw the new stinger at the beginning. You're going to see it again at the end to remind you. Go check it out there. You can find all of our episodes there. You can learn about each of us. You can contact us, some great Birdland BS gear and more. Also use that as an Amazon link. If you're ordering anything on Amazon, use that. We can get some kickback to help fund the show here. Don't forget, too, that we are also on birdlandsports.com along with several other Baltimore sports podcasters and writers. There's enough content there for coverage every day of the week for you, and it's for fans by fans. You can also follow us on Twitter at BirdlandBS, at Fred BirdlandBS, at Scott BirdlandBS. Check us out on Instagram at BirdlandBS, and as always, search us on Facebook and YouTube. Just search BirdlandBS. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all those places once you're there and be a part of Birdland BS Nation. Don't forget, too, if you want to give us your BS opinion and potentially have it heard on the air, hashtag BLBS Nation on Twitter. That's how we're going to be able to follow those comments. I haven't seen it yet, but we want to see those. And as always, you can listen to the audio podcast on Spotify or your app of choice. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we'll be back next Tuesday night next week. 8:45 Tuesday night, we will be back. For Birdland BS, I'm Scott.
I'm Fred.
See you guys.
We'll see you.